This is a huge weekend coming up in the WNBA. And I have someone here who is live in Phoenix and will be on the ground all weekend. And that's Jesse Morrison. And he is here to preview all of what to expect when the festivities begin tonight. The Locked On Women's Basketball Podcast, it starts right now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. Hello. You are locked onto women's basketball. I am Jackie Powell. I am your host, usually on Fridays, and I just want to thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. What I do is I host this show and I cover the New York Liberty at the Next, and I've covered women's basketball nationally at many other places. But yes, Locked On Women's Basketball, we are brought to you by everyone at the Next. And we believe in telling these stories all the time, and they're just so important. So subscribe now to support the staff at the Next. We work really hard. We're going to have, Jesse, is it 7 people on the ground in Phoenix?
I believe that is the number. 6 or 7 people are going to be there. Yeah.
And
which is up like 4 people from last year.
So that just goes to show our commitment to doing this work and to doing it the right way. And also remember that Locked On Women's Basketball is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. Today's episode is brought to you all by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we all want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So last time we were together, dear listener, I had Eden Lassie on. We discussed who got snubbed from being on the teams that are competing this weekend on Saturday night. But today, Jesse and I are going to walk through a lot of the festivities happening this weekend. So in segment 1, we're going to talk about night 1, which is tonight, which includes the 3-point contest, skills challenge, and this very new 3-on-3 exhibition. Then in segment 2, we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of what goes on off the court when it comes to All-Star. And just look at the evolution of how the WNBA has done this. And then in segment 3, we're going to be talking all about Saturday night, night 2. We're going to be previewing the game and previewing the halftime performance as well. Yes. Okay. So Jesse, thank you so much for coming on. I think where I want to start is your thoughts about this 3-point contest and what really do make of who is competing in this.
Okay, I'm a positive person, so I'm going to start with the positives. I do like when post players compete in the 3-point competition. Shows kind of where we are in the state of basketball, where everyone's kind of embodying all encompassing of basketball. And so I love to see Jonquel and I love to see Stephanie Dolson in this contest. But I will say, and I'm not somebody that is out here, making all of these, we need Caitlin Clark and everything takes. Mm-hmm. But this one, I mean, now that the reporting is out there that she declined, I'm a little bit disappointed. Like, I really wanted to see her in this competition. And I know that she's got national team commitments and everything, but it's kind of Sabrina's thing too. So, like, she was so electric last year. I was there for that. It was one of the coolest things I've ever been at. Just her, it felt like she didn't miss at all. I mean, I think she did, but it felt like she didn't miss at all. And then she went and did the contest with Steph. Like, I wanted her to come back and try to do even better, which I don't even know is possible. But I'm a little bit disappointed about those two, but I am, happy with having some post players in this competition.
For sure. I really agree with that too. Doug Feinberg reported earlier today that Sabrina and Caitlin Clark were both asked and they both declined. The reasons for Sabrina declining, I think, are much more apparent, which you alluded to. But also, if I remember correctly from last year's 3-point contest, Sabrina was practicing in advance for this. I remember going to New York Liberty practice and seeing the racks of basketballs placed in certain spots on the New York Liberty's practice court, and she was simulating it. And I just think probably with everything that is smushed together, USA basketball camp, even the cadence of games, I don't think there has been that time for her to practice, because it's sort of like competing in this 3-point contest. It is very different from just being a really good shooter. And that's what I think is going to be so fascinating, because I don't know if there is a clear favorite now. Although, do you think there is a clear favorite out of Steph Dolson, Jonquel Jones, Alicia Gray, Marina Mabrey, and Kayla McBride?
I'm going to say Steph Dolson, just because 49% from three this year. Like, that's a crazy high number. And it's not like she's not taking any threes a game. She's up 4 or 5 threes a game. So yeah, I mean, I think she could really do it. I like her as a pick for this competition for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking that it's going to be K-Mac. I really do. Just because she has, she's used to, I guess, firing a lot of shots within the course of a game. But I really don't know. I don't know what their preparation for this has looked like, because I'm telling you, it's really a different thing to do. So that's going to be really fascinating to see. Although, before we move on to the other elements of night one, I don't think it was reported why Caitlin Clark declined. I mean, did you hear anything on that front?
No, but I want to ask her about it. If you go to the men's side of things, LeBron's never done the dunk contest, and I've always wondered why. And I think a lot of people have always suggested, it would hurt his brand and everything. So I just wonder if for her, like if she went out there and did a, not so great job at it, that, she thinks that could negatively affect her brand. That's something that is just a theory that I have. But again, it'll be interesting to ask her. And then I also want to ask Diana why she didn't do it. Because, it is Phoenix. There should be a Phoenix player, I think, in this competition. And, if this is her last one ever, last All-Star game, then, I mean, go out with a bang. Do the thing that she does, where she proves that she's still really good and takes out everybody. So that was something that I would have liked to see. So I kind of want to ask her if she even thought about it. She probably didn't, but it's another question that I have. So I will definitely be trying my best to ask those two questions on just like why neither of them decided to do it.
Well, folks, you heard it first. We have one of our 7 people here on Locked On Women's Basketball who will be on the ground and will be asking the very important questions. So, in addition to the 3-point shooting contest, there is also the skills challenge. And there you do have some Phoenix Mercury representation in Sophie Cunningham and Brittney Griner. And then you have joining them, you have 3 others who are not on, or actually no, Alicia Gray will be on Team WNBA on Saturday night, but joining them is Marina Mabrey and Erica Wheeler. So Jesse, who is winning the skills contest?
I think it'll be Alicia Gray, personally.
And what is your reason for that?
Ball handler, that kind of player. I don't really understand why Sophie or BG are doing it, to be honest. it's not really their games. If it was somebody from Phoenix, it would be a Cloud or a Kalia, in my opinion. But whatever. It's at the end of the day, it's a silly exhibition contest. But yeah, guard ball handler Alicia Gray, I think she's gonna win.
That makes good sense to me. And I think I just wonder, maybe will BG be able to be a little bit more the entertainer she is, and will she drop a dunk down during the part of the skills contest where you have to make a layup? So keep on the lookout for that. I think that would sort of, the house would come down, or the Footprint Center would, be so loud if she were to dunk at a certain point in time. And I think that could be a pretty good opportunity.
It's probably when it gets the loudest at a Mercury game is when she dunks. So, and it hasn't happened this year, coming back from the toe injury. So we'll see if she does it in the skills challenge, which would be fun. She is a great entertainer, BG.
Before we take our first break, I do want to touch on a final and third event for Friday night, or for tonight, which is this 3-on-3 showcase. So the league announced on Wednesday night, when they announced who is taking part in the skills and the 3-point contest, that there is going to be a 3x3 exhibition that features Team USA, that is competing in Paris, against the 3x3 U23 national team. And that includes a bunch of college players that are competing against the senior team that is going to Paris. So, Jesse, what do you think is the significance of this? This is happening for the first time.
What I really like about it is that you're going to get to see both the 5-on-5 Olympic team and the 3-on-3 Olympic team. This is an event that's really showcasing who's going to Paris for the United States. And I feel like it would kind of be excluding the 3-on-3 team if you didn't acknowledge them in some way. And so this, gives them an opportunity to, number one, prepare for the Olympics. And then number two, for the fans to see them and, fall in love with the team, or, just see how they play together, that kind of stuff.
For sure. And you have two folks that are in the WNBA on that 3x3 team, in Ryan Howard and De'Erica Hamby. So it shines a spotlight on them, of course. But it remains fascinating that 3x3 is even becoming, there's a league in the US that was just established and that's emerging. So it's interesting to sort of see women's basketball at all of its levels and all of its forms come together on this one weekend. So, coming up, we are going to discuss how this all has evolved. But first, I do want to talk to you all about the lovely folks at FanDuel. And so at FanDuel, we know that we all love sports, don't we? We love them so much. We don't want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And sports aren't sportsing like we want them to. But the FanDuel app lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And the WNBA too, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, I would also like to tell you all about apostrophe. So, imposter syndrome is such a thing, is it not? And one of the biggest things that can lead to a lack of self-confidence is your skin. Acne breakouts, rosacea, wrinkles, these can all take a toll on your confidence level. And that's why we're so excited here at Locked On Women's Basketball to partner with Apostrophe, the sponsor of this episode. So, Apostrophe's goal is to help you feel comfortable in your own skin. Whether you're dealing with breakouts, signs of aging, or acne scarring, Apostrophe will help you love the skin that you're in. Apostrophe is an online platform that connects you with an expert dermatology team to get customized acne treatment for your unique skin. Through Apostrophe, you can get access to oral and topical medications that use clinically proven ingredients to help clear acne. Simply fill out an online consultation about your skin goals and medical history, then snap a few selfies, and a dermatology provider will create a customized treatment plan just for you. Apostrophe has been really helpful to me when it comes to helping me deal with my hormonal acne. It makes sure that the bumps and blemishes that come up on my skin aren't as painful and don't make as much of an impression on my face. Apostrophe helps with pimple size and decreases redness. We have a special deal for our audience. Get your first visit for only $5 at apostrophe.com/lockedon when you use our code LOCKEDON. That's saving $15. And this code is only available to our listeners. Just go to apostrophe.com/lockedon and click Get Started. Then use our code LOCKEDON and sign up, and you'll get your first visit for only $5. Thank you, Apostrophe. And now, back to our program. I am here with Jessie Morrison, who is on the ground this weekend at WNBA All-Star. But before we get into this evolution of WNBA All-Star and the weekend itself, are you watching ESPN or Fox Sports on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, so Jessie, you are in Phoenix. I'm sure you've seen what's going on down there, but what does it look like, and how do we know that this is the spot for WNBA All-Star?
Well, they've kind of decked out the city with WNBA related things. Phoenix is very good at doing this when they have big events. So giant Nike ad downtown for Sabrina up on the Bank of America building in downtown Phoenix, pretty close to the arena. So you can see it like as you're walking in. I heard there was an Asia Wilson one as well. I have not seen that one yet, but I'm sure I will this weekend. They've decked out a bridge with a WNBA All-Star logo, and yeah, I mean it's really cool down there. It's really makes it, it looks like a big event, which is what we want with the WNBA.
It's exactly what we want. And something we've also noticed is that WNBA Live continues to get bigger and bigger. And so for those of you who don't know what WNBA Live is, it's essentially this, well, in Vegas, it was a giant room in the convention center, and it had all of these different WNBA activations, and there were some pop culture crossovers. And it just was also an opportunity to sort of see which corporate sponsors were showing up as well. And so, Jessie, when you look at the WNBA's history when it comes to All-Star games, what would you say is significant about where we are now and sort of what the new status quo is becoming?
Well, last year I was there and I went into WNBA Live, and if you think that if you're somebody out there that doesn't think there's money or backing or, whatever into the WNBA, there are so many corporate sponsors, Dick's Sporting Goods, Starry, the list goes on of just of these activations. And it was quite the experience, quite cool to see how many companies are really investing in women's sports and investing in the WNBA. And it's also just a really cool experience for fans because there's a lot of fun activities, pop a shot. There's, talks with players, and these companies will bring in these players to do, sit downs and stuff. The Nike exhibit last year was showing off Sabrina's shoe, and I believe had her there. Might not have been when I was there, but she was there talking to fans. And so that kind of stuff it's just a really great experience. If you're here in Phoenix, you haven't checked it out yet, like, you should go, because it's honestly just a great experience if you love basketball and love the WNBA.
Yeah, and it's really great to hear you sort of talk about what you saw from it last year. Like, there were so many booths. I wasn't there, but I can tell you I was there in 2022 in Chicago, and it was outside in a bit of a smaller space, but my understanding is WNBA Live in the year we are, 2024, will be even bigger than it was in 2023 in Las Vegas. I mean, we've heard about all of these new sponsors that we expect to be there. New Balance, Bumble, DraftKings. I mean, the list continues to go on and on. And so shifting gears just a tiny bit. So when we think about WNBA Live and who really was part of the conception of all of this, it goes back to Cathy Engelbert and her team. And they really made this a priority to want to establish. I mean, it took a little time because we had something called the COVID pandemic that prevented All-Star from happening in 2020 and then made it a bit limited in 2021. So WNBA Live didn't really get to take shape until 2022. And so, Jesse, I think where I want to go here is there is a less public event to fans that happens right before the game itself on Saturday night. And that is Commissioner Engelbert's press conference with the media that is there. So I guess, you will be writing on that. You can find Jesse's upcoming stories from the weekend on thenexthoops.com. I will put a link to his author bio in the show notes so you can see everything that comes from Jesse this weekend. But Jesse, what are you expecting to come out of the commissioner's presser, which is usually like a midpoint state of the WNBA?
I think the Golden State expansion will be something that is talked about. Expansion draft. I think that when that is going to be a question that's asked. How it will work, what the plans are for that. I think that's something that will be interesting. I think the growth of the league this year, just maybe how it's covered, the debates, all that stuff, I think will come out of her press conference. And then I also want to ask her, because I know some season ticket holders in the league that have gotten emails, 44 games next year. So I really want to hear her address the 44 games next year, possibly confirm that. I mean, obviously it's kind of been confirmed if teams are sending it out to their season ticket holders. But they haven't really announced it on a league level yet. So I would like to ask her about that. And maybe that's something that she opens up her press conference and is like, we're going to have 44 games next year, because I could see that happening as well. And then, the media deal that just was reported. Another thing that I'd like to ask her about, how that will impact player salaries. Something I would like to know. And then the charter experience as well.
But yes, the media rights deal, that is going to be a huge topic for discussion. Obviously, there was a leak from The Athletic. If you have not read what has been reported, I will also put that in the show notes. Essentially, the WNBA could be making $260 million from their total media rights package, which includes a package with the NBA and then a package that they negotiate separately. So that is huge news. I mean, the players can opt out of the CBA in a few months. So
they should.
Yes. And so those are all going to be questions up for discussion. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating. So coming up in our final segment, we are going to discuss what to expect on Saturday night during the big showdown, including our recommended set list for halftime performer Pitbull. Stay with us, everyone. And we are back. I'm here with Jesse Morrison. We are previewing everything about WNBA All-Star Weekend in Phoenix. Okay, Jesse, we are talking about Saturday night, night 2 of all the fun, previewing this game, the WNBA All-Stars versus Team USA that is going to Paris. First, I want to remind listeners about what exactly makes this game in particular special.
I mean, you've got the Olympic team playing the WNBA All-Stars. It's different than most years. Most years it's 2 teams of WNBA All-Stars. Olympic year, they're going to play the players not on the United States team that were good enough to be selected for All-Stars against the United States All-Star team, which I got to say, I think makes it a little bit of a disadvantage for the WNBA team. And the Team USA is pretty stacked, I gotta say, compared to the Team WNBA. Really good team. Not sure that they're going to be able to hang with Team USA, but I think it might also lead to a little bit more of a competitive juice than last year's game, which was, BG playing point guard and guarding Chelsea Gray, which was funny, but it wasn't necessarily good basketball.
Exactly. And that's what we saw in 2021. We saw one of the most competitive All-Star games that, we remember in recent memory. I mean, I know there's complaints on the NBA side about there not really being any stakes, and it can be a little bit boring and not really fun. And so people tuning into this are going to see a competitive 2 hours of high-level basketball, because these are players on Team WNBA, some of which were in the running to be on Team USA but did not make it. So there's some serious juice. I mean, obviously we know everyone's talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark being on the same team, but there are many more storylines than just those 2. So, Jesse, who would you say is going to start this game? So looking at Team USA, who do you expect to be the starting 5?
Starting 5 for Team USA. I think BG will start.
Makes sense.
I think Kalia Copper will start. Again, it's in Phoenix. I don't think that Diana's going to start. Even though it's in Phoenix, I don't think she'll start. I don't think that's going to be her role this year. I think Stewie will start. I think that Asia will start. I think it's going to be quite the front court. And then probably Chelsea Gray. That's going to be my 5. Quite the size on that squad, but that's who I could see. I could see Sabrina though starting. I could see Alyssa Thomas starting, but I think my 5 is what's going to end up going to be the starters on Saturday.
So BG, Asia, Stewie, Ka at the 2, and Chelsea.
Yes.
Interesting. Ka at the 2 is one thing that I just wonder. But you know what? I mean, we will have to see. And now, Team WNBA. Who do you imagine starting here?
I think Aaliyah Boston will start.
At the 5.
I think we got NECA at the 4. Say DB at the 3.
Yep, I could see it.
And then say Caitlin and Enrique.
Fascinating.
That's what you're gonna go with, and that would be a lot of threes shot in a very quick clip.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I do wonder if they're going to bring back the 4-point shot. I mean,
this would be the year to do it. I mean, it would be, yeah. I think that's going to be the starters for the for Team WNBA.
I just wonder, will Jonquel start instead of Aaliyah, or are they doing this when it comes to who got the most fan vote? I mean, I'm not sure. As we heard, Cheryl Miller will be coaching Team USA. Cheryl against Cheryl Reeve, which is so fun.
Cheryl versus Cheryl.
I think that's the best, and I think I just love the choice. I think
the original head coach of the Mercury makes a lot of sense, and I also she's recovering from, I believe, a knee replacement. So I'm glad to see that Cheryl Miller is good enough to move around and coach the All-Stars this year. It'd be fun.
Absolutely. So, okay, now that we talked about who potentially will be starting, we have to talk about the halftime show. So, as we have heard, Pitbull will be doing the halftime show. Last year it was Kalani, who WNBA players love her. So, it's really interesting to see that there's been a shift here. It's now the international sensation Pitbull. And so, Jesse, before I ask you to predict his set list, I do want to provide the listeners with a small note, which is a league source told me that getting Pitbull to do this was from an effort on the Mercury side from obviously owner Matt Ishbia, but namely Sarah Schock, who is the assistant GM of the Footprint Center. And so she is responsible for the booking at the arena. And so what I find to be fascinating about this is that before Matt Ishbia was owner of the Phoenix Mercury, we were talking about how Disney on Ice was kicking the WNBA out. And so here we are, a few years later, and we're saying, hey, Pitbull is performing at WNBA All-Star halftime. So it's quite a glow up, I must say.
For sure.
Okay, so Jesse, take me through the set list. What are you expecting?
I think this is me personally.
Okay.
You start with "Don't Stop the Party." Got to come out with that. Get everybody moving. Timber, bring out Kesha. Come on, you got to bring out Kesha. And then you finish with Fireball. That's me personally. That's my personal set list. I think that there's time for probably 3 songs. That's where I would go.
So I actually have my little set list here, and I have around 5. And so to be able to do 5, just like when you think about the Super Bowl, which is much longer, you have to sort of make it a bit of a medley. So what I have is you start with Give Me Everything, which is Pitbull's biggest hit of his career. Then you move into The Time of Our Lives. Then he does his first hit, I Know You Want Me. And then he finishes with Timber and DJ Got Us Falling in Love. And Usher makes his way from Vegas to Phoenix. And I shout out Alexa Philippou because she also has this prediction. But that is my set list. I'm really curious about this. I think it's going to be quite a show.
It's fun. I love that Pitbull he seems to just want to be involved in every sport. He's got a NASCAR team now. There's other things that he does, but it's great. I think it'll be, he's quite the cheesy human being. So I hope there's a little bit of cheese at halftime. And apologies in advance. I will probably be bad dancing in the media section, which they say no cheering. They've never said anything about dancing. So there will probably be some bad dancing from me in the media section.
Makes sense. Before we close out, Jesse, I just want to know, rapid fire, who is going to be the All-Star Game MVP?
I think it will be. I'm going to go Asia. I feel like that's a really easy one to take, but she's just been on such a tear this year. I think it's her and then everyone else for MVP in general in the league this year. She's kept that team afloat when Chelsea Gray was out. So I think Asia's going to have the best game and take home the honors. I think it'll be pretty hard to give it to somebody else.
Interesting. I only disagree because I think the Team USA system is really different from how the Aces run. But you know what? My pick would be someone on Team WNBA because I believe in that juice. And so I'm going to say that it is Kelsey Mitchell that gets MVP. Thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Jesse for hopping on the show today. You can find all of his great work at thenexthoops.com, especially of this weekend. Happy All-Star Weekend to all. This has been Jackie Powell and
Jesse Morrison.
And we are signing off.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We good?